My girlfriend smirked and said, "My friends already know how this ends." I replied, "Then they should know what you deleted too." The room went silent. She turned toward her best friend and whispered, "You told him?" This is Voxa Stories. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss what comes next. I am 38 years old. I work in healthcare administration, managing contracts and compliance for a regional hospital network, the kind of job where you spend your days reading documents carefully, looking for the sentence that doesn't match the paragraph around it, flagging the line that seems reasonable until you compare it to page 47. That professional habit, that specific wiring in my brain that will not let inconsistencies pass unexamined, is the only reason I found out at all. Without it, I would have walked out of that party believing the story she had spent months constructing about me. I would have been the villain in a story I had never read. Instead, I was standing in my friend's living room with a drink I hadn't touched in 40 minutes, watching the woman I had spent 2.5 years building a life with smirk at me across a room full of people we both knew. She said, "My friends already know how this ends." That particular theatrical pause told me everything. She had rehearsed this moment, played it out multiple times, decided exactly how she wanted to deliver it. I looked at the people around her, her two closest friends from work, the birthday girl who had gone visibly uncomfortable the second the temperature dropped, and 3 others I knew casually, all of whom had shifted their eyes to me with a specific expression. The expression of people who had already been told a story, who already had an opinion, who were watching to see if I would behave exactly the way they'd been told I would. She had done her work well, I had to give her that. "Then they should know what you deleted too," I said. The music was still playing from the Bluetooth speaker on the bookshelf, something soft and ambient. It didn't matter. The room went quiet the way a room goes quiet when the air pressure changes, when everyone's body registers that something real is happening before their minds catch up. She stared at me. Her face cycled through 3 distinct expressions in about 2 seconds. Shock, rapid calculation, and then something I had never seen on her face before. A particular kind of fear, not the dramatic movie kind. The quiet, real kind that lives in the throat. She turned slowly toward her best friend, who was standing to her left, holding a plastic cup with both hands. In a voice barely above a whisper, but somehow the loudest thing in the room, she said, "You told him?" The best friend didn't answer. She looked at the floor. She had told me, and they both knew I knew everything. Let me take you back to where this actually started. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. A specific irony I didn't appreciate until recently. She was sharp, confident, funny in a way that was self-aware rather than performative, and I was in the middle of a stretch of life where I had been working too hard and paying attention to too little. We started dating in the fall. By January, we had keys to each other's places. By the following spring, she was spending more nights at my apartment than at the townhouse she shared with a roommate in the subdivision about 15 minutes east of downtown. My apartment is on the 4th floor of a building near the medical center, clean and plain, nothing remarkable. She came in and had opinions about everything, and for a while that felt like warmth. She put plants on the windowsill. She bought a specific brand of dish soap from Target. She rearranged the pantry. She had a strong preference for Publix over every other grocery store in a 15-mile radius, which became a standing point of gentle argument because there was a closer option and I never understood why the extra 8 minutes mattered so much. For the first 1.5 years, I thought I understood what we were. 2 functioning adults building something together. She had a temper that ran warmer than mine. I had a habit of going quiet when I needed to process, which she read as emotional withdrawal. We argued the way people argue when they actually care about the outcome, messily but honestly, usually reaching resolution by the following morning. I thought we were fine. I was wrong, but I thought it for a long time. The shift happened around 8 months ago. Shifts are only visible in retrospect, In real time, they just feel like friction. She started going out more frequently. What I noticed was that when she came home from those evenings, she was different in a specific way. A little guarded. She would ask me questions about my day in a way that had a subtle quality of information gathering rather than genuine curiosity, as though the answers were being stored somewhere. I am a man who reads documents for a living. I notice things, but I also wanted to believe in what we had, and those two impulses competed with each other for months. By November, she had stopped bringing up anything forward-looking. No more offhand comments about a restaurant she wanted to try, no more half-joking remarks about the holidays. The future had quietly disappeared from her vocabulary, and I registered this absence the way you register a sound that stops, not immediately, but eventually, with a small, disorienting lurch. I asked her directly one Sunday afternoon. We were in the kitchen. She was making coffee with the machine she had brought from her old place. I asked if she was happy, plainly, without preamble. She looked at me and said, "I'm fine. I just have a lot going on right now." "With work?" I asked. "With everything," she said. She poured her coffee and went to sit in the living room, and the conversation ended. That was the Sunday in November. I did not stop paying attention after that. 3 weeks later, past midnight on a Tuesday, I was working through a contract amendment when I got a text from a number I didn't have saved. "I need to tell you something. I don't feel right about this anymore. Can we meet?" I stared at it. "Who is this?" The response: "Her best friend. Please don't tell her I reached out. But there's stuff you should know, and I'm not going to be able to sleep until I tell someone who actually deserves to know." Those words did something specific to me. Someone who actually deserves to know. They confirmed a thing I had been suspecting without allowing myself to fully form. There was something I did not know, and its absence had been deliberate. We met the following Thursday at a Panera Bread 3 exits down the interstate from the hospital. Neutral, public, anonymous in the way chain restaurants are. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a sandwich she hadn't touched, her coat still on. She slid her phone across the table. What I was looking at was an Instagram profile. Not the one I knew, not my girlfriend's public account with the professional headshots and brunch photos. This was a secondary account, private. The username meant nothing to me, and the profile photo was not her face. "She deleted it 2 weeks ago," the best friend said. "But I had screenshots. I kept them because I had a feeling something like this conversation might need to happen eventually." I looked through the screenshots. I am going to tell you what they contained as calmly as I can. What they contained was a documented campaign, not a diary, not venting, a campaign. For approximately 6 months, on that private account visible only to a curated group of close friends, she had been building a version of our relationship that was a mirror image of the actual one. In her account, I was controlling. I monitored her whereabouts, interrogated her when she went out, made her feel guilty for spending time with friends. She posted screenshots of our text conversations, real screenshots, not fabricated, but cropped. She would remove her side of a conversation and post only my response, so what remained looked like unprompted coldness or aggression. She had done this multiple times, enough times that the friends who followed that account had a coherent, consistent picture of a man who was not me. What made it particularly precise: she had started this account 8 months ago, around the time the shift began. She had not been documenting a relationship she was already leaving. She had been constructing the justification for leaving a relationship she had decided to leave and needed the right story for. "She's been telling people you're the reason she's not happy," the best friend said. "And most of them believe it because they only have what she showed them." "Did you believe it?" I asked. She was quiet. "At first, some of it. But then the posts started to feel engineered, like each one was placed to get a specific reaction. so I kept the screenshots because something felt wrong. I drove home on the interstate in the dark, past the Cracker Barrel at exit 42 and the cluster of chain hotels, and the big Home Depot lit up like a stadium at 9 p.m., and I did not turn on the radio. I just drove and thought and let the thinking be as cold and clear and unhurried as I needed it to be. I want to pause and ask you something directly. If you found out someone had been quietly building a false narrative about you to your entire shared social circle for 6 months, would you have confronted her privately? Or let the truth come out publicly the way it did? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know where people land on this. Over the 2 weeks between that Thursday and the Saturday party, I did not change my behavior. I did not go cold or signal that anything had shifted. I kept going to work. I stopped at Publix twice because she'd asked. I made coffee in the morning. I sat next to her on the couch on Friday nights and watched whatever she wanted to watch. Present, unremarkable, and entirely awake. She invited me to the birthday party about a week before it. The birthday girl was someone we'd both known for 2 years, a woman from a group outing we'd both attended, the kind of friend you make in your 30s who exists primarily in social contexts. My girlfriend forwarded me the invite with, "You should come." I said I'd be there. In the 3 days leading up to the party, I noticed the particular quality of her energy. Not nervous, but heightened. She was warm to me in the way people are warm to someone they know they're about to hurt. The compensatory warmth that is actually guilt that can't hold its shape. She had her people in position. She had the story already circulating. She had the smirk loaded. What she did not have was any information about what I'd been doing with my Thursday evenings. The party was in a house about 30 minutes from mine, one of those subdivisions off the county road that was farmland 15 years ago and is now a development of 4-bedroom colonials with 2-car garages and HOA-managed lawns. Inside the living room was the warm, slightly too loud kind of crowded that a Saturday party reaches by 9 o'clock. I arrived alone. My girlfriend was already there, and something on her face when she saw me read as anticipation rather than warmth. I got a drink, moved through the room, talked to people. Easy, present, calm, because I am a 38-year-old man who knows how to be in a room without giving anything away. At some point in the natural drift of the evening, I ended up near the birthday girl's small cluster, which included my girlfriend and her 2 work friends. The birthday girl, with the social generosity of a good host, made some warm offhand comment about you two. The kind of innocent remark that functions as a conversational bridge. That was when my girlfriend smiled, not at the birthday girl, at me. With the controlled quality of someone who has decided to enjoy what's coming. "My friends already know how this ends," she said. Every word was intentional. The "my friends," establishing she had an audience. The already know, telling me I was late to a conversation that had been happening without me. The how this ends, delivering maximum humiliation in minimum words. "You have already lost. The ending has been written. Everyone here has read it. You are simply the last to know your role." I looked at her for long enough that the people around us registered the silence. "Then they should know what you deleted too," I said. I watched the words land. The room shifted. Bodies straightening slightly, conversations losing a half beat. Everyone paying the kind of attention people pay when the temperature changes without explanation. She turned to her best friend. "You told him?" The best friend had not moved. She was standing 2 feet to the left, cup held in both hands, eyes on the floor. She did not answer. "You told him," my girlfriend said again. This time an accusation hissed in an undertone the whole quiet room absolutely heard. "He deserved to know," the best friend said. First to the floor, then directly to my girlfriend's face. "He deserved to know." My girlfriend turned back to me. The social performance dropped entirely. What was underneath was raw, not quite anger, not quite fear. A compound of both with something beneath them that might have been shame if she'd had room to get there. You went through my things, she said. No, I said. I didn't. Then how? Someone who witnessed what you were doing had a problem with it. That's different from snooping. You have no idea what that account was. It was a private Instagram account, I said. You started it around 8 months ago. You posted cropped screenshots of our texts, your messages removed, only mine showing, and distributed them to about 12 people, specifically the ones in rooms like this one. I gestured at the space around us. So they'd have a specific picture of me before tonight. One of her work friends said quietly, "Oh God." My girlfriend's jaw set. You're making it sound like what? I said. Tell me what I'm making it sound like. She went very quiet. Which is what people do when the argument they planned requires a version of events that can no longer be supported. I needed people to understand my side, she said finally. You've always been so... You make me feel like everything I think is wrong. You go quiet and you get that face, and I feel like a problem you're solving instead of a person you're talking to, and I needed my friends to understand that without having to justify it to you first. There it was. The actual thing, finally stripped of engineering. And here's what I have sat with for weeks. There was something in what she said that was not entirely false. I do go quiet. I do process internally. I probably do have a face that reads as clinical when I'm actually just thinking. I know these things about myself, but none of that justifies months of curated half-truths. None of it justifies cropped screenshots that turned two-sided conversations into one-sided exhibits. None of it justifies building the case before having the conversation, priming the jury before the trial. If you needed your friends to understand your side, I said, you could have talked to me. The Sunday in November, I sat across from you in the kitchen and I asked you directly if you were happy. You told me you were fine and walked away. She opened her mouth, closed it. You had 6 months of posts, I said. You couldn't use 6 minutes of them to talk to me. Her quieter work friend said, I didn't know the screenshots were cropped. She said it to nobody in particular, but it landed in the middle of the room like something dropped from a height. The birthday girl said, with the exhausted grace of someone watching their party become something else. Maybe everyone should just take a breath. I'm fine, I said. I'm genuinely sorry about your birthday. This isn't the night you planned. I looked at her directly. I'm going to head out. I put my drink down on the bookshelf next to the Bluetooth speaker, still playing something soft and entirely irrelevant. I looked at my girlfriend one final time. No closing statement. We looked at each other across that room, and I think we both understood simultaneously that whatever this had been was over with a finality no further conversation could alter. I left through the front door. The Ring doorbell camera lit up its small blue light as I walked under it, and I had one involuntary thought. Someone is going to watch this footage later and try to read my face. I hope they see nothing useful. By the time I walked out of that house, I had finished feeling everything I needed to feel inside it. I drove home on the county road past the Shell station and the Walgreens and the 24-hour Waffle House that has been on that corner longer than the subdivision behind it. I went up to my apartment and stood in the kitchen with the light on and looked at the plants she had put on the windowsill. They needed water. I watered them, some kind of mechanical reflex. In the weeks since, her best friend has not spoken to her. That was not something I asked for. It was the result of a separate conversation I was not part of. 2 of the other friends who had been following the private account reached out to me separately, both awkwardly, with the uncomfortable quality of people trying to apologize without fully naming what they're apologizing for. I was civil, not performatively gracious, but civil. She has not contacted me directly since the party. I received one voice note 4 days later, 48 seconds, which I listened to once. It was not an apology, it was an explanation, which is a different thing. A voice saying you have to understand the position I was in, and I needed to feel like someone was on my side, and I didn't think you'd ever actually find out. That last sentence is the one I think about most. Not because it's the most hurtful, though it is, but because it tells you the most accurate thing about the person who said it. She wasn't worried about whether what she was doing was wrong. She was worried about whether it would reach me. That's not someone who got confused. That's someone who was careful. My apartment is quieter. The plants are still there. I drove past the Publix last Saturday and kept driving. Went all the way to the Costco 3 exits farther, which I'd somehow never been to in 5 years of living here. Walked around it for 40 minutes buying things I didn't need. There is something about the scale of a place like that. The enormous fluorescent warehouse logic, the giant pallets, the sample stations, the complete indifference to anyone's emotional state, that I found genuinely comforting. I bought sparkling water, coffee beans, a throw blanket, drove home, put things away. It was the most functional I had felt in weeks. I'm not going to tell you I have no regrets. I regret years. I regret the way I found out. I regret that she didn't trust the conversation enough to have it. I don't regret the comment I made in that living room. I don't regret that the people who had been handed a filtered version of me got to stand in a room and watch the filter come off. Some things end badly because of what you did. Some things end badly because of what someone else decided before you knew the ending was already being written. I'm still figuring out which category this is. The honest answer is probably both. Edit. A lot of people are asking about the best friend, whether I feel guilty about what happened between them. Yes, there's weight there. She made a call that cost her a friendship. I didn't ask her to make it. What I feel about that is complicated. What I also know is that the cost was hers to decide, and she decided knowing exactly what it would be. Edit 2. For people asking why I didn't pull her aside privately at the party instead of letting it play out publicly, she set the stage publicly. She arranged the audience. She delivered the opening line in a room full of people on purpose. The public nature of it was hers, not mine. I just declined to take the exit she expected, absorb it quietly, and walk out with the story unchallenged. I wasn't going to do that, not that night. If something in this hit you, if you've ever been in a room where someone had already written the ending before you walked in, drop it in the comments. Tell me what you did. Tell me what you wish you'd done. This is exactly the kind of conversation this channel exists for.